All right, folks. Speaking on customer focus is Chief Deputy Director Juney Lee of the Department of Rehabilitation. Juney Lee is a long-term DOR employee and has over 30 years of state and local experience and a decade in executive management at the department. She started out with the Department of Rehabilitation as a senior vocational rehabilitation counselor, and after 18 years as a counselor moved from the VR program to the administrative side as a budget analyst in the fiscal forecasting unit. She was appointed in November 2011 as DOR's Chief Deputy Director, and she works as part of the Directorate with Director Joe Xavier, who we did hear earlier today. Her role is to advise and assist Director Xavier in the formulation, implementation, and administration of policies. Please join me in welcoming Juney Lee to the stage.
Dear. I think I'm going to have to walk away from this podium. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to Nathan for the introduction. I'm Juney Lee, and that's Juney like the month of June with a Y. So I'm really excited to be here. Earlier today, you've already heard about communication, the importance of communication, and teamwork focus. And that was presented by my boss. You met Director Xavier. And customer focus is particularly important to me. It is what I believe why government is here, is to really have a customer focus. We have a customer base which really doesn't have a choice for public services. And with that, that carries such an extraordinary sense of responsibility. And so it is such a pleasure to be able to talk to you about it, to have a conversation with you. And what I'm going to do is to hit upon why it's important, what it really means, who our customers are, and then I really want to conclude with how. How do we make our organizations customer focus? So starting with why customer focus is so important. You all know that our world is much more complex than even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Information is shared so quickly, accessed very quickly, and the public is demanding more. And they're expecting more of public servants and of government. And we know that when we do not meet the needs of our customers, the public, it can create great risks. And those great risks may come in the form of a lawsuit. They certainly come in the form of complaints. So I wanted to start this with a quote. And that is, good customer service costs less than bad customer service. And that is a quote from Sally Gronoff. So because of that, I think government needs to take a different perspective about customer focus. The aspects of how we provide the services have to change. And it has to change at every level. From the person that greets our visitors in our state buildings, to those that make the final decisions and create laws. So the public sector really does need a more customer-focused approach and really redesign itself in that way. And lastly, for all of you that might not really recognize how important customer focus is, it can impact your career. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So that is where, from my perspective, why it's so important for us to have this focus. And so what does it really mean to have quality customer focus? And for this, I think as I even ask that question, you may already be thinking about what that means. But I would like to make this a conversation, more of a dialogue. So I'm looking to the audience to see if I can hear from you what that means. Do I have any? Yes. Treat people how they want to be treated. Excellent. Something else? Is Matt Baker out there? Matt Baker? Aha. Yeah, your mom said I could call on you, so. So go ahead, Matt. Okay, I'm sorry, I need to, can you stand up and maybe project a little bit?
I said that you never know when you're going to be that person's customer, so you always want to provide the best customer service.
That's true. That's true. He said that you never know when you're going to be that person's customer. So that may be an incentive for you to, treat that customer well. I don't know, for some of you if this has happened, that somebody that maybe you worked alongside with that suddenly became your boss. I see some nods. So those are all why or what does define itself as quality customer service. Some of the other things is responsiveness, adding value to your organization, adding value to your program, listening and problem solving. So that's what is the quality customer service. Those are some of the qualities. So I'd like to move on next to who are our customers. I think the folks that call, if you pick up the public line, that's obviously some of our customers, but who else are our customers? And are you volunteering? Sure. Anyone you come into contact with. Yeah, that's it. Yes? That's right. Anyone that needs your services. Anything else? Those are all the right answers. Some others that you might consider is, our control agencies. We have federal control agencies, we have state control agencies, we have our agency. We have, your other divisions within your department. They're also your customers. And I would say, too, don't forget your family and friends. They are also your customers. And I say that because, we do also emphasize work-life balance. And so, if you burn yourself out at work or you take your your work home with you, consider those that they are also your customers. Maybe your most important. That's what my husband keeps reminding me. So we talked a little bit about why customer focus is important, what quality customer focus or customer service is, and who our customers are. So for me, I have been thinking about over the many years, and you heard a little bit about my history. I have a long history with the state, with local government, over 30 years, and a lot of experience in customer service and customer focus. And so I've come up with 3 things that I think are really important. The first is that customer service is everybody's job, everybody's job. Doesn't matter if you're the receptionist or you're the director. And customer service is more about the process than it is about the product. It's more than the health care that's given to our citizens, but it's about how do they access, what is the process they go through to get that service. And then lastly, good customer service in the world that we live in today really isn't enough. So I will speak a little bit more about that. But let me just talk. I want to share with you a personal story. When I became an analyst, you heard minutes ago that I started with the state. I started as a counselor. As a counselor, I knew it was very clear who my customers were. It was those individuals on my caseload. But something happened in our department, at the Department of Rehabilitation, back in 1995. It was a time when the department started running out of money. And the Department of Rehabilitation provides services to individuals with disabilities to live independently, to obtain employment, to realize equality. And in 1995, we had to close the doors. We ran out of money. And in the 3 years after, we opened and closed our doors maybe as much as 4 times in 1 year. And it created so much strain in our community, and it impacted our caseloads. And it frustrated a young counselor as myself. So what I did was I decided that our headquarters, who were actually, they were making the decisions about opening and closing services, I wanted to have the opportunity to contribute to those decisions, having witnessed what it was doing in our communities. And so I applied for an analyst position. I went from a counselor to a budget analyst, and everybody thought that was the strangest thing, that you could never, that was such opposite ends of a spectrum, and that's what I did. I went into the budget office, and I recognized that my job was more than just looking at the data. That the data and running the numbers really wasn't telling the stories, but was bringing in that process of interpreting what that was doing to individuals and doing to programs. So I brought that perspective into the budget office, and I did a little bit more than that. I took the data and I started, well, it's going to sound really dry, and this is at the end of the day. But, you know, as we started running our trends and looking at all of our indicators, trying to translate into what does that mean for a person? What does that mean for a program? And I created charts. It was the first time the department created charts. I know that sounds so rudimentary now, but back then that was like way advanced. That was beyond what the department had seen before. And I had the opportunity to present in front of our executive team. And I soon recognized they were my customers. That not only that, they were really important customers because they would be making the next decision about opening or closing the services, the doors to services. So I did my presentation, but instead of doing a presentation like you would as a budget analyst, I really did it from a program perspective. I did it from almost as a counselor perspective. And having worked all of the numbers into charts, into something that people could translate easily into how it would affect people's lives, it made a difference. And remember when I said how you deliver your customer service will somehow impact your own career? For me, that was the pivotal time in my career. I had caught the eye of the director. And at the time, I caught the eye of the director. It was because that I was the first that could look at numbers and translate them in such a way that the executive team would pause in making their decisions. For me, that opened the door for other career advancements. But that was when I started recognizing that everybody's job was customer service. That it really was more than the process. You had to look at then the product. The product was the end of the numbers. It was the process of getting to those numbers. And it was doing something beyond. It was connecting the numbers to people and to the program and creating what I thought was just those fabulous charts. I think that, you know, you may have stories like I have regarding my experience as an analyst. I want to right now kind of hear from you, and do we have mics, Caesar? Do we have a way to hear what the audience is saying? I'd like to, okay, so I'm going to have to ask people to speak loudly, and I hope we'll be able to hear, but I want to hear some examples about, in your department, or even in your private life, what have you experienced that's great customer service? And right here. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. I'm very touched. Thank you. Okay, well, who wants to follow that? Well, Kathy just shared a little bit about her personal story, which was she remembers that I was her counselor and that I helped her secure her life and career, and that my customer service, she recognized and made a difference to her when I went to her work site to check on her, to make sure that she was getting the services that she needed. So thank you, Kathy, and congratulations to you. All right, so let me share some good customer service. When I walk into Nordstrom's, I get great customer service. Yeah, a lot of the women are nodding, yes. Guys, what do you think? And when I take my car in, okay, this is for the guys. When I take my car in to get service and I go pick it up, it's been washed. That's really going extra, right? Those are great examples of great customer service, quality customer service. So let's flip it over. Any bad experiences? Bad experiences of customer service? Bad customer service? Nordstrom Rack. Okay. Okay. Good. Very good. Anything else? Yes. Bad customer service. Bad customer service. I'll share a story. Bad customer service. My first recall of bad customer service. I think I was about 7 years old. And my parents were immigrants, and my mother didn't speak English. And I remember her taking me to a department store. And now remember, my mother didn't speak English, so I was going to be an interpreter. And I remember my mother was picking out a dress, and she got a dress for herself, and she got a dress for me for this big event. And she was taking it up to the register to pay for it. Now remember, this is many, many years ago, in the 60s, where there was a lot of discrimination. And all I remember was person after person being waited on, and my mother was not. And I don't know, it was, you know, as a 7-year-old, what was going through my mind was as I watched it. And I knew I had to say something. And so, you know, I did. I said, "Excuse me, but my mother is next." And I think that that has really influenced me in terms of customer service, that you have to treat people with dignity and respect. But that taught me a lesson. So how do we do this? How do we do this in public service? How do we create a customer-focused organization? How do you do it? You have more power than you even recognize. So as leaders, it is our responsibility. We're public servants. We have a fixed, captured customer base. It's our responsibility to provide the highest quality service. So again, what were the things that I said? I believed every job is a customer service job. It's more about the process than the product. You have to go beyond than just good customer service. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that customer service is everybody's job? Here are some tips. Customer service has to be front and center. We should be including it in all of our duty statements. It should be in your duty statement. Certainly, when you become managers, that's something you can make sure is included. It has to be communicated. There has to be a voice that speaks customer service. There has to be a true commitment from the organization that you believe and value customer service. I want to give you some examples, share with you some examples of customer service and the commitment at the Department of Rehabilitation. We have customer service is in our strategic plan. It's our goal 3. It says customer-focused services provide effective customer-focused services to consumers, partners, employers, and employees. It's in our mission statement at the department. It says the California Department of Rehabilitation works in partnership with its consumers and other stakeholders to provide services and advocacy resulting in employment, independence, and equality for all individuals with disabilities. It's in our core values. It says, quality, strive to meet stakeholders' needs through continuous improvement, competence, creativity, and teamwork. So you have to create a culture. It has to be intentional. You have to create a culture of customer service in our organizations. You have to make a deliberate choice every day that you're going to come in and that everyone, I think I heard from healthcare, that everyone is your customer. Everyone is your customer. And you have to invest in it. So training like today. That speaks very highly of an agency as big as ours, that we're investing this whole room full of folks, and I think they said about 300 enrolled for 2 days straight to learn these values. So you have to invest. So, moving on to my second belief, that customer service is more than the product. It is about the process. And I have a quote. It says, "Quality in service or product is not what you put into it. It is what the client or the customer gets out of it." And that's a quote from Peter Drucker. So quality, I heard it earlier, quality customer service, I heard folks say respect, integrity, and just having a human kind of approach or human touch to the service. So in terms of respect, I'll give you one tip, and that is responding to messages, responding to email, responding to phone calls. Responsiveness is respect. So if you have emails, you have people asking you for things, make a commitment that you're going to respond timely, within the day, 2 days max. I try to always make it within a day for myself. Sometimes it means late night responses, but it is a commitment that I try to make. Integrity. So integrity, that means making sure that what you say and what you do, it reconciles. That you don't make promises that you can't keep. So have integrity in your process. And then the human approach, it's that listening to your customers. Giving the customer time to really explain what their issues are. You've had that, right? I do that all the time when I call the help desk. And listening is something so simple, but something so important in the process. You may not be able to solve the person's problem, but you've listened and you've tried to make sure that you've identified the issue, and even if there's frustration, even identifying that. One of the things that I ask you not to do, and I'm sure none of you do in this room, is to say, "It's not my job," or "I don't make those decisions." That's what the rules are. So listening is as part of the process. And remember that customers, and I think that someone said this was shared earlier, but customers will always remember how they're treated so much longer than what you give them. People will remember how they're treated. So, number 3, good customer service is no longer enough. And as leaders, we understand that the importance of customer service, and we ensure that we meet our customers' expectations. But for top quality customer service, you really want to exceed it. So when I was a budget analyst, I was trying to go that one step more. How can I get the point across? What more can I do? I created those great charts. I thought, remember that was a long time ago, so the charts, the conversion to make charts wasn't really there. And there is here's a quote that I'll share with you. There is a simple but powerful rule. Always give people more than they expect to get. So how can we do this? I think it's important for you to recognize your customer. I don't know if in your departments whether you have programs where you award customers or award staff for great work. But it's important to do that, to take that moment to do that. So recognizing folks, and then surprising folks for that little bit of extra. And I'll share with you another little story. When my kids were young, we didn't take them out to restaurants very often, but every once in a while we'd take them. And I remember the first time we took them out to a Chinese restaurant. And I know it seems like I would be cooking that, but so we took them out to a Chinese restaurant. And the kids, were kids, and they ate their meals, and we were having a really nice evening out. And I remember we finished our meal, and then the bill came. And with the bill came fortune cookies. And the kids just looked, and they thought, oh, this is great. We get cookies on top of, of our meal. Mom never does that, So they got cookies. And then when they got their cookies, they were even more surprised there was paper in it. And the paper told them something. So it was a little surprise, that was so simple, but it was so exciting for them as children. And so I always think of ways I could do something just a little bit extra to surprise someone. And so you really want to try to go beyond, above and beyond. And then you want to follow up, with your customer. So, quality customer service, as opposed to just good customer service, is you go back to your customer. How was that experience? How did you like that? How did we do for you? And then take that evaluation, that criticism, that compliment, and use it to continually improve. And so going beyond, under promise, but over deliver, and then go the extra mile. So I just want to, I'm at the end of my talk, and I just want to summarize the three things that I really, through my own experience, and that I've really found that is so true. And that is, again, that every single job is a customer service job. And you have to build that culture in your organization. Put it in your duty statements. Put it in your recruitment bulletins. And that customer service is more than the product. It's more than just that service that you're going to deliver. It's about that process. Does your stakeholders get to engage? Are you listening? Do you respect what you're hearing? Do you have integrity in what you're doing? And then that good customer service is not enough. You've got to go beyond. Add that little element of surprise. Recognize your staff, your colleagues. Surprise your boss with a little extra. Go beyond. And so I have another quote, and this is from Howard Schultz, Starbucks fame. And he says, our mission statement about treating people with respect and dignity is not just words, but a creed we live by every day. And I think that would describe public service. And so before I open it up and take questions, I have a little surprise for you. So Caesar, if you can help me. I have fortune cookies for everyone in the audience. And wait, I'm going beyond. I also have chocolate for you. Now, I have been told you can't eat it in here, but you can take it with you. So now I'm at your service. I want to answer any questions you have, and I do have something my director asked me to do. He forgot to say it when he was here earlier today, and so I would like to share with you. And not only in teamwork, but also within customer service. You know that diversity will enrich that, having a diverse workforce. You are all analysts, soon to be managers, I'm sure. And we want you to help embrace that diversity and to think that, that diversity is more than just color. It also includes disabilities. So think about that as you rise up. And now I'll be quiet and answer questions. Don't be shy. Nick, are you here? Nick Beard? Is Nick Beard in the audience? Or Lana Reynolds? I'm calling on my own staff. Ah, Lana. Do you have any questions that, for my benefit and for the benefit of the audience? Okay, Lana, I'm going to ask you to come up and say that in the mic. Is Jenna Lee here? Jenna Lee?
Thanks. Thank you, Juney. I was just saying that I think that one of the things that you impress on us all the time is that our coworkers are also our customers, and that when we work in a team, we have to consider that as well.
That's right. Thank you, Lana. Thank you. And thank you for letting me put you on the spot. Anyone else? A comment or a question? Yes. Please.
I'll just run it back.
I just have an example of a good customer service. My boss had asked me for a billing report, so I figured I'd walk down to the coworker's desk that does the reports. It'd be faster, a quicker response. He wasn't there, but his coworker noticed that I was there, said, "Oh, he's not away, but what do you need?" I told him about the report. He said, "You know, I'll email it to you." By the time I got back, it was already there in the email. So not only was it not his job, he saw that I was visiting a different coworker. He took ownership and sent the report to me. So at that point, I had to email his manager just to let him know that that's great customer service.
Perfect. Number 2.
Ms. Lee, I wanted to ask you, you went from being a counselor to a budget analyst, and being a counselor, there's a certain demeanor empathy you have for the customers you work for, your clientele. You went from counselor to budget analyst. What kind of challenges did you face, and what did you have to offer being a budget analyst from your counselor background?
Thank you. That was a good question. The question was, how did I move from counselor to budget analyst? What were some of the challenges? And what I would say the biggest challenge was to get acceptance from other budget analysts. I don't know if other folks feel that way when you change from like IT into program into IT. It's being accepted in that that area, that division's discipline. For me, you know, I think I lived in I grew up really essentially with two cultures, the American culture and the Chinese culture. Always felt that I straddled two areas, and I did that almost in college as well, because I was really tracked, and back then they did track the students. I was tracked for science and math. That's really what I excelled in. But I also grew up in the 70s when there was a great social consciousness and my desire to really work with people. And I went in towards the counseling area, but I had strong math abilities. So for me personally, you know, going from one to the other was not so much of a challenge, but probably the biggest challenge was acceptance of other budget analysts that had fiscal background, and then being able to master that and put that in a perspective of program, I think, which gave it so much strength. You know, that was the diversity I was offering that area. So I think there was someone over here. Oh, thank you.
Hi, I'm relatively new to state service, and so I'm going to make a request to all of you up-and-coming managers that when you advertise for a position, you send out a letter to all the applicants who've applied, because I would apply for positions and I never heard back anything at all. So I think in referencing customer service, this is a way to let the public know that they've been acknowledged and their application has been received, and along those lines. Thanks.
Anybody have a question or comment? Bring it forward. We can pass the mic to you. I see a hand coming toward you.
Thank you. My name is Shatasha Felton. I work for the Department of Managed Healthcare in the IT department. And my question is, how do you handle when you come in contact? You gave an example of when you had bad customer service when you were a child, but how do you handle that in the workplace if you are, because I provide customer service, but when I receive horrible customer service, I don't know how to point that out to the individual, or even if it's a coworker. Do you suggest that you do that, or do you just let it go?
Thank you. You know, thank you. That was that's a really great question, and I think from my perspective, we all have a responsibility for ensuring quality customer service, whether it's you getting that or someone else. And so when you get a response that's not less than quality, if it was a colleague, depending on, it really depends on the situation, but I would encourage you to speak to the colleague. The colleague may be having an off day, but I don't think off days excuse bad customer service. I think there has to be an expectation. You can speak to your manager, your supervisor, and let them know if you're not comfortable speaking directly with that colleague. But it is your responsibility. You can't allow bad customer service to occur in your area. You can't allow it to, stand for that type of response for yourself. We all have to play a part in making that your organization a culture of quality customer service. Any other questions? Bill, Mark, you guys have questions over there? No? Oh. Okay, I think I'm done. Thank you so much for your time and attention. You're very welcome. Enjoy.